Hello. The date today is March 2nd, 2022. My name is Dave, aka the Extended Fasting Fat Guy. And this is, I believe, my 19th video, which is chronicling my ongoing weight loss and overall journey in an attempt to improve my health. If this is the first time you've ever clicked on one of my videos, I would strongly encourage you to maybe check out a couple of my previous ones. I think a lot of the stuff I say in this video will probably not make a lot of sense to people if they don't know a little bit of the backstory. Originally, I recorded these videos solely for myself. I did not do anything to publicize them really at all. And somehow I've managed to pick up over 20 subscribers, which doesn't sound a lot when you consider that there's people out there with with thousands and thousands of subscribers. But as I've said many times in the past, I really don't do these videos for for other people. Honestly, I do them for myself, to hold myself accountable and to chronicle my journey, what I'm going through right now. But in the process of doing that, I have picked up a few very kind people that have been following me. So if you are new to watching these videos, I hope you've seen my previous videos, because as I said, what I say here will not make a lot of sense. My last video was about 10 days ago, I think, and that was a fairly monumental video at the time because I recorded it just prior to going to the hospital for a cardiac procedure, a surgery on my heart. The reason I got into this whole weight loss experiment that I'm on right now is because I am a morbidly obese individual. As of November 1st, 2021, I weighed 403 pounds and I needed to lose a tremendous amount of weight because I have or maybe had a cardiac condition of chronic arrhythmias, and my surgeon was very hesitant to operate on me until I weighed 300 pounds. So my goal was to initially lose, basically get to myself around the 300-pound mark, and then have the surgery, but also improve my overall health and lose weight, obviously. I was successful. Between November 1st and February 22nd, I lost a total of 73 pounds, which is pretty good by doing intermittent fasting. But on February 13th, the date of the Super Bowl this year, I had a recurrence of my cardiac condition, my chronic arrhythmia. I had to be admitted to the hospital, and I was apparently very close to suffering a stroke or heart attack or congestive heart failure, going into congestive heart failure because of my condition. Excuse me. So they bumped up my surgery and scheduled it for the 22nd of February. I was within 30 pounds of being 300. I was 330, and so my surgeon felt confident to do the procedure. The other thing was, I guess I probably wouldn't be here if he hadn't done it, because my condition was worsening. So it was really at the point where I didn't have much choice but to get the surgery. So I recorded a video, my last video, where I talked about the fact that I'd been admitted to the hospital. I had to have undergone a procedure called cardioversion, which is being shocked with paddles to restore your heart rate. And I had the blood work and done and everything, and I was heading into the hospital. So I did go into the hospital on the morning of February 22nd, a week ago yesterday. And I was admitted at 6:30 a.m. and I went into the operating room at 7:30. They explained to me, I explained the actual procedure in my previous video, but there were some deviations from that plan. Originally, they had said that the plan might have been to keep me awake and just give me a local anesthetic, because they do not go in through the breastplate for this surgery. They go in through the groin. So they were going to give me basically a numbing agent or whatever and keep me awake, but After they got all my pre-op blood work and saw my test results and everything, they decided they were going to put me right under. So I met with the surgeon and his team, and at 7:30 a.m. they put me under. The procedure normally takes apparently between 2 to 4 hours at most. So I went to sleep at 7:30, and I woke up in the recovery room at 3:30 p.m. I was very disoriented, and I did not know what was going on. I was told that the procedure had been a success, but with an asterisk, that it was a lot harder than they thought it was going to be. It was a chaotic scene when I woke up because I was very disoriented. I'd been under the anesthetic for over 6 hours, I guess. So the procedure, which normally takes 2 to 4 hours, had taken over 6, number one. Number two, I guess because I was out longer than they had intended, they had to increase the dose of my sedation while I was under. And they had a hard time getting me out of it, which is actually not an uncommon thing. My father is a cancer survivor, and he had surgery years ago, and he had the exact same problem where they put him under general sedation, and it took hours for them to get him to come back up again. And so that's what happened to me. That's why I didn't wake up till 3:30. I guess the procedure ended at some point after 2:30, but I had a really bad reaction to the anesthetic, and it took them a long time to kind of wake me up. So when they did, I had a bad reaction to it. I had not eaten for 48 hours prior to the surgery, partially because you're not supposed to eat the day before surgery, and partially because I've been fasting, as we all know. So even though I hadn't eaten, I was I began to heave and retch, and I would have, if I had had anything in my system, I would have thrown up. So for quite some time, I was having a very violent reaction to the anesthetic. Also, I later discovered that it's so hard to even know where to begin. The procedure itself, they put you to sleep. They stick a camera down your throat, map it to your heart, and then they make an incision in your groin, and they insert a catheter up into your heart. They locate the area of your heart that's malfunctioning, and they cauterize it, they burn it. One of the ways they confirm that they've got the right spot is by actually stimulating an arrhythmia, like causing an arrhythmia while you're under, and then burning the affected area. Unfortunately for me, I guess they stimulated the arrhythmia when they got up there, and then they couldn't get it to stop. So they had to actually shock me again, cardiovert me again, but this time they did it internally, like they shocked me from inside my heart. So as a result, I was in a lot of physical discomfort when I woke up because of the procedure itself. So I was disoriented, I was nauseous, I was throwing up, I was in a tremendous amount of pain. And so the other problem was that they had made the incision in my groin, and when they examined me in the post-op room, they discovered that I was still bleeding. So they moved me to the cardiac ICU. So on Tuesday night, I was admitted to the cardiac ICU, and their main concern was that my right leg, they had made the incision in my right groin muscle, which is right between your private parts in your leg, basically. They had made the incision there, and it was still bleeding, which is not unusual because I've been on blood thinners for 3 years now because of this heart condition, to try and stave off stroke and whatnot. But anyways, they could not get the bleeding to stop, and I began to bleed under my skin and develop something called a hematoma, which is a huge mass of blood under your skin. So they had no choice but to open the incision and drain the hematoma. And then they originally, normally with this procedure, they just let the wound, the incision heal naturally, but they couldn't because they had to reopen it, so they ended up having to stitch me up. So they came to me, my surgeon came to talk to me, and he said, listen, the procedure was a success. Yes, we found the infected area, or the affected area of your heart, and we believe that we have stopped the arrhythmias. You should be okay. But in his words, it was a real challenge to do it, and he said basically, your recovery is not going to be quite as quick as you might want, because you had the complications of going into an arrhythmia during the actual procedure, and also you had the post-op bleeding. So we're going to keep you in the ICU till we can get the bleeding to stop, and we know that you're going to be okay to go home. So they admitted me to the hospital. That had already been admitted, but they admitted me to the ICU. So my poor family and my friends were kind of frantic, because they thought I was only going to be under for a couple hours and would be coming home that night. And instead, the hospital was kind of incommunicado with everybody, because I was in surgery for so long. So finally, they brought me my cell phone, which was with my possessions, in the ICU, and let me call my parents to tell them what was going on. It was bad, because they'd had the scope down my throat for so long that my throat was very raspy. I could not really speak for the first few days after the operation. I sounded like Marlon Brando in The Godfather, basically. So I called my family and told them I was okay, but I was staying in the hospital. So over the next however many hours, basically, they basically kept coming every half an hour and putting an ice pack on my groin, which is a lot of fun. You should try it. Pressing down as hard as they could for like 20 minutes to stop the bleeding, and then lucky that it was a male nurse I had, and he was, it was a fun job to come and change the ice pack every half hour and hold the ice pack on my groin to try and get the bleeding to stop, which it eventually did. So then they dressed it. So they gave me a huge bandage and wrapped up my leg. So one of the problems was that I'd gone under at 7:30, so they laid me flat on my back. And when I woke up at 3:30, even though I had not had anything to eat or drink for a long time, I still had to go to the bathroom. I felt very sick to my stomach. As I said, I kept retching, and also I felt like I had to go to the bathroom. And they would not let me sit up. They said, you can't sit up. You were under sedation for a long time, and you've got an open incision, and you're bleeding, and we can't let you get up. So I was pretty much in pretty much misery for the whole of last Tuesday night. Finally, by about 9 p.m., they let me sit up. They tipped my bed up so I could sit up in a sitting position. And then they took mercy on me after about an hour and said, listen, if you really want to go to the bathroom, which I really, really did at that point, we'll walk you to the bathroom. So they let me go to the bathroom, so that was nice. It's one of those things which you take for granted every day until you can't do it on your own, and then you're very thankful when you finally can. So, like I said, the overnight process was not a lot of fun. So I guess the next thing that happened is where it becomes relevant to my ongoing video chronicle here. Shortly, I don't know, in the middle of the night at some point, I became extremely cold. I got the shakes, and they had my heart on a monitor. It's kind of neat now. In the past, when you have a heart monitor, it's attached to a thing at your bed, and you can hear it. And with this one, it was the cord, like they had cords on it, but it was like, I guess, battery or whatever. And the actual monitor was at the nurse's station, so they could monitor my vital signs not there in the room, right? So they came running up, and they're like, your blood pressure is dropping. And I was shaking, I was shivering. So they got me heated blankets, and they gave me, put 3 heated blankets on me, and they said, this is really weird. And I said, well, it's not really that weird. You keep putting ice packs on my groin, so I'm cold. And they said, no, but you shouldn't be, your blood pressure's dropping. Do you mind if we check your blood sugar? And I was like, no, do what you gotta do. So they checked my blood sugar, and they came back and they said, your blood sugar is dangerously low, and as is your blood pressure. So they said, we really need you. If you can, we want you to eat. So as you all know, I've been fasting. So I said, well, I haven't eaten since, by that point I hadn't eaten in over 2 days because of my fasting, right? So I said, well, I haven't eaten since Sunday. And they're like, we only needed to fast yesterday. And I was like, no, I'm fasting for weight loss. So they're like, well, that's great, but you need to eat. your blood sugar needs to go up, and it needs to go up now. So we're going to give you orange juice, and we want you to drink it. And then we're going to give you more orange juice, and we want you to drink that. And we're going to give you a muffin or a sandwich or something, and you need to eat. And I was like, okay, all right. Look, I'm not going to argue at that point, right? But I mean, that was the first time I've actually cheated on one of these fasts that I've been doing since November. Like the first time I ate or drank something that I early broke a fast, right? So that was kind of sad, but I feel, the circumstances dictated it. So I drank 2 orange juice, little juice boxes, and my blood sugar went right back up, as did my blood pressure. And then they gave me a truly hideous turkey sandwich wrapped in cellophane. I took the cellophane off, but I don't really think it would have mattered if I had the way it tasted. And then later on, they gave me a horrible muffin. And my blood sugar and my blood pressure went right back up. So in the morning, on Wednesday morning, the 23rd, the doctor came back to see me, and he said, listen, here's the deal. The bleeding has stopped. So that's good. The incision is stitched. So as long as you do absolutely nothing for the next 72 hours to aggravate it, the stitches will dissolve on their own. He said the thing is that your blood sugar and your blood pressure went really low, and the next week or so is vital to your recovery. So I know you've been doing the fasting to try and lose weight, but I think you need to eat for at least a week to recover from this procedure. So I said, okay, well, I'm obviously in their hands, right? So I'm like, I'll do okay. So they let me go on Wednesday, the 23rd. So for the first 3 days after that, basically Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, this past Friday, it was not a pleasant time for me. I'm in a tremendous amount of pain. My chest is very sore. I'm having heart palpitations, which I understand are common after this procedure. Basically, they have rewired my heart with this procedure, and so my heart is adjusting to its new rhythm. And every now and then it will give me a knock, like I'll get some palpitations or some chest pains or whatever, which are normal so long as my pulse is steady, remains steady, like there's no skips or arrhythmias, long-term arrhythmias, then I'm fine. But the bottom line is they were poking around in my heart with a wire, so there's some chest pain, and there's some discomfort, and there's some shortness of breath. The main issue is that the incision site on my right leg is extremely painful. My entire right leg has turned a horrific shade of blue, black, and purple. I showed it to my roommate on Thursday, and she almost threw up. I have pictures, but I'm not going to share them with you out of respect for everybody. The bottom line is that it became very swollen. So for the first 3 days, I was basically flat on my back at home, and I was walking around like I'd just gotten off a horse. I was bull-legged. My throat is still bothering me from the tube being down there. It's gotten much better. Like I sound a million times better now than I did. But so anyways, the first 3 days I was just in a lot of discomfort, physical pain at the incision site, physical pain in my chest. But my roommate went shopping, and I don't have a lot of money, so my nutritional options were very limited. Bought a couple loaves of bread and some bologna and some mac and cheese, a couple cans of chunky soup. I was reminded that over the past week how much cheaper it is to eat crappy food than it is to eat healthy. It's expensive to eat healthy, even when you fast. I will also be totally honest and say that I did buy a lot of junk food, ice cream and pop, soda, cookies, whatnot. My attitude was, well, I'll just take the 7 days that they told me. I'll take a week, like they said, and I'll eat, and then I will go back to fasting. So I'm improving very, very slowly. My leg, the swelling is going down, but it is still grotesque to look at. But the swelling is going down. I can now, if you saw me walk from one side of the room to the other, you probably wouldn't think there was anything wrong with me, which that is very recent development, like only the last 24 to 48 hours. Prior to that, I just looked like I was limping, and you couldn't, my voice was raspy, and I just looked like death. Very pale. My surgeon is called to check in and see how I'm doing, and I talked to him about a bunch of things. You know, he said that as long as the incision isn't hot, like to the touch, and don't have a fever, then there's not really any risk of infection. If there is, then I need to go right back to the hospital. I told him about the heart palpitations. He said as long as I don't go into arrhythmia again, then I'm okay. I talked to him about the fasting. I said, listen, the way I lost all this weight was by fasting. So and he's like, no, you can probably start fasting again next week, meaning this week, if you want to. So I said, okay, all right. Which is nice because a lot of doctors, they don't understand fasting. Like some doctors are starting to come around on it, but a lot of doctors aren't. And so yeah. So anyways, it kind of worked out perfectly. I'd set it in my head that, you know, I would start, yesterday was 1 week to the day, 7 days since I'd had the surgery, and then I would start fasting. And it was also the first of the month, right? So it seemed serendipitous to pick Tuesday, March 1st to start my fasting again. For the two reasons. Number one, it had been a full week since my surgery, and I was starting to improve, and also it was the first day of the month. So I figured I will weigh myself, and then I will get back on the fasting horse and continue on this weight loss journey and this overall health journey. So I weighed myself, and much to my dismay, I now weigh 351 pounds. So I have gained 21 pounds in the last 7 days, which is hard to believe, I know, but I'm not so stupid to think that it's all fat. I don't even know if it is technically possible to gain 20 pounds of fat in a week. I know a lot of it is water weight, and I know this because since I've started eating every day over the last week again, I'm retaining a ton of water, and I'm having to go to the bathroom a crazy amount of times. Like, I don't sleep through the night anymore. I have to get up 3 or 4 times in the night to pee. And when I do pee, it's a long process. It's not like normal. So I know a lot of, probably a good amount, not the whole thing, but a lot of the weight that I've lost or gained is water weight. And I would hope that I will be able to lose that. But it's still extremely disheartening because, as I mentioned in my last video, I've reached that 330 pound plateau, which I was unable to get past the last time I lost a lot of weight, and here I am again, and now I've gained 20 pounds. But the other major issue is that I failed. I was unable to complete my fast that I started yesterday. I only lasted about 14 hours, and then I cheated on my fast and I ate something. I found it extremely difficult to stick to the fast last night. I started fasting upon wake up, like I stopped eating at midnight on the 28th. So as of 12:01 on the March 1st, I started fasting. And I only lasted, like I said, about 14 hours, and I broke down and I ate. So that is the first time that has happened to me, not counting the time in the hospital where they made me start eating. That is the first time this has happened to me in the last 4 months that I've been doing this, that I've cheated and cheated on my fasting routine. So I am extremely disappointed and upset with myself right now. It was almost like it was an out-of-body experience. Like I really, literally, and I'm not making excuses, but I mean, obviously I did it, right? But it was almost like I just got up and went and started eating like I couldn't stop myself. And I was really, really the minute it happened, I was really angry with myself. Like, my roommate was home, and I just said, "Oh, I'm disgusted with myself for doing this. Like, I need to get back on this horse. I don't want to gain all this weight back. I'm already upset that I've gained, over 20 pounds back in a week after the surgery. I don't want to go back to where I was again. I don't want to be 400 pounds. I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to deal with this crap anymore." So I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think that probably a big part of it is the fact that I went an entire week and ate every day. Like, I had really gotten that out of my system over the last 3.5 months, 4 months. I had stopped eating every day. I'd never ate on consecutive days from November 1st until now, with the exception of the holidays. I ate it on Boxing Day and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But even then, I barely ate on New Year's Day. I think there's a lot of factors at play. My body had gotten used to eating crap again every day. I got stuck in that stupid mental headspace where I was like, well, as long as I'm eating, I may as well eat garbage. And as long as I'll start on the 1st. So I'll eat whatever I want because I'm starting again on the 1st, which was just stupid. But these are the challenges that I face, and these are the challenges that people with issues like I have face every day. So the question is, where do I go from here? I ate a number of times yesterday during the day and evening, so I restarted the clock again this morning at 8 a.m. So it is now like 2 p.m. So I've been fasting for, I think, 6 hours now again. I'm at a real watershed moment here, a real pivotal point in this process. I think what happens over the next week or two is going to really be extremely important to the overall success or failure of this whole thing, this whole process that I'm going through, this whole process of me trying to lose weight and get healthy. There's so many different things in my head right now. I can't help but wonder if I was doing this whole fasting thing and everything to get ready for the surgery, and now that I've had it, am I letting myself off the hook and saying, well, you got your surgery, your heart's fixed now, so you don't need to worry about it, which is just stupid. But I'm wondering, is that what's happening? All I can say is I can tell you what my plan is and pray that I stick to it. I'm going to attempt to fast between now to Sunday, the 6th. I'm trying to do an 100-hour fast, which is a good length of a fast. It's going to be hell because the first couple of days of a fast are always difficult, especially if you were eating a lot of sugar and carbohydrates and stuff, which I have been eating just garbage for the last week. So I know over the next 48 hours, my body is going to be crying out desperately for sugar and carbs, and I will probably deny my body these things. So I do not anticipate the next couple of days being pleasant for me in any way, shape, or form. They're going to basically be torture, and I'm going to be basically going back to square one where I was when I first started this process. The other question then becomes, what is my long-term plan? Let's assume that I can get back on the horse and stick with this fast for 100 hours. What's the plan from there on out? In my head, I know what the plan is. Whether or not I'll be able to stick with it is an entirely different issue. Number one, I think that I was finding in the months of February and January, prior to all this happening with my heart and everything, that the 72-hour fasts, it was taking me a real long time to get into ketosis. And the 72 or the 80-hour fasts were not really cutting it for me. And so I've decided that I think I want to try to do nothing but 4-day fasts from now on. So the bare minimum of 96 hours, if not more. So to up my fasting game I still want to do rotating fasts. I've considered doing a real like gonzo crazy extended fast longer than I've ever done before, and I may yet do that, but my number one goal is to just get the crap out of my system, number one right now, and then once I've reestablished my fasting routine, I want to up it a little bit to make the fast longer. Number two, I have made the decision that when it comes to refeeds, sugar is out. I gotta get sugar right out of my diet again, like gone. And carbs as well, I think, for the most part. I think I'm going to try pretty much going either keto or even carnivore for the month of March. If I could wave a magic wand and force myself to do what I want to do, I would say to you that I would like to do rotating 96 to 100 hour fasts for the month of March from now on, and short eating window with carnivore or strict keto on my eating days. That means no more extended 8 to 12 hour refeeds with carbs and sugar. And I'll be curious. One of the reasons I want to do that is because I've been hearing from a lot of people that have told me that when you do keto or especially carnivore, when you refeeds, then you don't have as rough of a time on the first couple of days when you fast again, when you're doing rotating fasts. Because I've really noticed, like, and I've talked about this many times, that the refeed, after the refeeds, I'm having a rough day or two. Like the third or fourth days of my fast are actually easier than the first two, once I get over that hump. So it's been an eventful week or two for me. I'm in a lot of physical discomfort. Yesterday was the first time I was able to actually go out for a walk. My dog and I went for a nice long 20-minute walk yesterday, which was really nice. So that was fun. I need to get my exercise back, but that's not me being lazy. I got to be real careful about this, right? So I guess I want to recover from my surgery. I want to get back into my fasting routine, and I want to eliminate sugar and carbs from my diet. Like I said, I've considered trying to make up for the damage that I've done over the past week by doing a super extended fast and try and dump the weight that I gain and get myself back to that mythical 330, 327 pound mark and blast through that barrier once and for all and get below that. But I don't know. Right now, like I said, I'm a whopping 6 hours into this fast, so I'm hardly in the position to be making grand pronouncements. Prior to this, I would have felt confident making that kind of proclamation, but I've really kind of dropped the ball here. It's a conundrum because I understand why the doctors wanted me to start eating for regularly during my recovery. I do understand that, but I wish I hadn't done it, because yesterday was when I cheated yesterday. It was the worst feeling. It was like I said, it was almost like I wasn't in control of my own body, and I'm pretty much living in total dread right now of the next 48 hours because I know what's coming. The intense cravings, the headaches, the brain fog, the inability to relax because you're just obsessed with food. I know that's all coming again, and these are all bridges I thought I'd crossed for good, and now I've put myself in a position where I'm right back to, well, I'm not right back to square one. I'm not 403 pounds again, but I've gained a lot of weight back, and in a very short amount of time. So I don't know. I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen. Your guess is as good as mine. I hope I can rebound from this. As far as I'm concerned, I need to look at this as a setback. And then what needs to happen next is I need to kind of reset my goals and get back on the horse and start going again. Like I said, these are now pivotal days where if I can't get back to where I was, then I'm in a lot of trouble. And I know that. I'm very disappointed. I'm glad I got the surgery. I'm upset that it did not go as well as I had hoped, that my recovery is so much more painful. And I'm very disappointed with myself for for not getting back on the horse and for the fact that I've gained that weight back in such a short amount of time. But all I can do is move forward. I know there's no point in dwelling on the past. I need to just concentrate on the future. So I keep obsessing over, how close I was to getting below 327, and now I'm back, above it again, and way up again at 350, whatever. And I just want to get back to where I was and get back on this journey, right? So I guess that's it for now. It's a lot to digest, and I don't feel very well physically or emotionally, so I really don't want to talk too much more. But thank you to everybody that did reach out to ask me how I was. I will try and get back to everybody in time. So hopefully I'll have another video within, who knows, I may record one in the next day or two if I'm really struggling, just to give myself something to do. I've done that before. Or I may see how long this fast goes and then record one when it ends. I really don't know at this point, but I guess all I can say is stay tuned. Talk to you soon.